Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another little episode here of Baldur's Gate. When we left off, we had talked about all of the different companions that you can find, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the Blighted Village. This is an early game area, one of the first places that you'll probably run into. Now, you've got to be careful coming into this space because there's a lot of goblins that can be hanging out around here. So if you really want to go through the front gate guns blazing, fine. Just make sure that you're prepared for it because these guys hit pretty hard. What I'm going to talk about is a different route that you can take into here, and that's going to be over off to this side of the encampment. You'll see over here there's a little path of vines that's going to let you come up into the camp. And this is actually the route that we had taken, if we pull up the map. This is the route that we had taken to get up through the Blighted Village to get around to find Harlack here. But there's more than that, just that going on around here. As you'll see, we now have a creature kind of hanging out over here. This is Scratch. As you can see, Gomwick, as we'll find out, is his owner, or former owner. Is hanging out here, and Scratch is just kind of hanging out. Now, you can do a couple of different things here. If you have a spell or potion of animal speaking, you can, basically get a conversation with Scratch. Otherwise, you can try a couple of different routes to kind of befriend Scratch. You can see that he kind of takes some initial aggression here, and you'll want to try and do a couple of different things first. I don't want to yell at him, as I don't think that that's going to be really great, even though it's the thing that I have the best modifier at. But let's see if we can perceive what's going on his collar here. I'm going to go ahead and pop some guidance on from Shadowheart, our resident cleric. Turns out I didn't need it, but we'll take a bonus anytime we can get it, as we'll find the details with that there. And now that we have the name of the animal, we'll get a little bit of an interaction with him. And this should make the next kind of interactions with Scratch a little bit easier. You can try to get him to come with you, but he's not eager to do so. And then you can give him an opportunity or a way to follow you around. And that is the simplest way to get Scratch back to your camp as a potential companion. And he'll just kind of continue to hang out here next to his owner. But once you've had that interaction, you can actually take whatever it is that his owner Gomwick had. It's a couple of items that are somewhat nice to have. But eventually you'll get Scratch as a member of your camp. And then you'll probably want to keep your finger hovering over the Alt key, as any time there's something that can be interacted with, it'll either jump off the map like this, or it'll be highlighted by a little frame over here. So we're just going to grab a couple of the blush cap mushrooms, as they might be useful for things later, or, if you're going to just kind of grab and take ownership of basically anything and everything that comes along here, this is kind of a great way to go about that, as well as there are things that can prove to be helpful. Sometimes they're not really pointed out, and you kind of have to hover over them by finding them in the environment, but you can find all sorts of useful things out here just by looking around and hovering your mouse over different things. But I'm not going to spend too much time here, as we do want to get into the Blighted Village. So let's come back over here towards the actual climbing point.
What's that?
Now right here, there's some honey which you can grab. That's a bit of some camp supplies. But your party may succeed on a rocky crevice here. And unfortunately, dwarves are too large to fit in that space. I believe you have to be either a gnome, a halfling, or potentially a druid with a wild shape that's very small, such as a rat, in order to get through there. So I can't go over that in today's playthrough, but anyway, it speaks a lot to the credibility of the oversight in creating the game, as well as the general replayability that Baldur's Gate has to offer.
The whole village is falling to pieces.
But once we're inside here, we're going to be just kind of cautious about where we go. And I'm going to blaze through a little bit of this just so we can get some progress here. But this is the next space that we're going to be looking for, just to kind of egg things on a little.
Invisible me.
So once you're kind of in here, you're going to notice a couple of things. And that has to do with a lot of the enemies that are kind of crawling around here. You've got a tracker that's hanging out here that has a really good view of the entry gate. And there's going to be a couple more that manifest over here on the roof, but we're not quite at a point where we would notice them coming through. What we're going to do real quick is we are going to go ahead and get everyone in the party snuck. And then I'm going to go ahead and use Karlach just because we can get the most bang for our buck here with that. Now you can see that a couple of these other goblins are coming into view or focus, and you can tell that there are a couple of them up here on the roof as well. But if you can get the jump on them, it's honestly going to go a lot better for you. So let's go ahead and sneak up here right behind him, which we're doing really quite well with that. And then we'll go ahead and get an attack in on this goblin, and we didn't even alert any of the other goblins to our presence, which is actually quite nice.
Like a vandal.
Probably due to the fact that we're just outside the range of their perception, which is really quite good. Now you'll see that there's a couple of them hanging out here. We've got two on the roof, and they could prove to be quite problematic, but as long as we continue to sneak about, we should be able to avoid detection fairly easily. Alright, so what we're going to do next is we're going to come up across these guys. Again, this is going to save us a lot of trouble when it comes to actually getting in trouble with these guys. And we'll still have to deal with the two across the way here, but turning a 5v4 into 3 or fewer v4 is actually going to be quite helpful. Now, one of the other things that you can do to ensure that you get some additional benefit here is you can hit Shift Space or simply click over here to enter time-based mode. And so what that's going to benefit us with is we can additionally get the drop on some of these creatures. Karlach doing quite well there. But now, as you can see, I conserve the ability to get some additional damage in against some of our foes, which is really quite nice of a thing to have. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, if I can, is I'm going to move up as close as possible, and I'm going to see if I can twin an Ice Knife. I'm not going to be able to because I'm just too far away. So we're going to go ahead and cancel that command. We're going to cancel the twin on that as well, which is fine. We'll be able to do some other things with that very shortly. I'm also not in range to be able to Shocking Grasp, so we're going to go ahead and hit him with a Bone Chill, which is going to prevent him from healing. Could have done more damage as far as I'm concerned. But that's all right. Next up, we actually conserved the ability to get an attack here because of that surprise round on the Goblin Tracker. So we're going to walk up over here to this guy and get an additional attack. I'm not too concerned about the others not being able to reach me or whatever else, or being able to hit me with some ranged attacks, so we will go ahead and reckless attack on this turn, but we didn't end up getting that. So the next objective here is going to be give an athletics check. That's going to give a quite nice amount of fall damage to him. He's now going to have to spend his entire move trying to get back up to the point where he can actually do anything to us this turn. Next up, let's go ahead and bring Shadowheart on to the front lines. And once she's here, we're going to go ahead and looks like it's going to be easier to hit this prone target with the Sacred Flame. So with that, he's still got a hit point, which is all sorts of interesting there. So what we'll go ahead and do as our final turn here is I can't quite hit this guy, but we will go ahead and launch an Eldritch Blast down at this target. We had the high ground, but we still missed that attack. So let's see what else they have to throw at us, as they're going to spend a lot of their resources coming to us just based off of the positioning that we were able to do in this space. So now you're no longer prone, but you're hurting a little bit. Grease, though, that's not going to be very nice or helpful. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to try to move to a vantage point where we can get a little bit extra work in. And we can actually do this, which is nice. So this guy has, or they actually both have about the same amount of hit points here, but we will go ahead and spend a first level spell slot to cast some Magic Missile, and I'm just going to target each of them once so we can get some guaranteed damage on all of them and ensure that we take this one down, which is nice. Now, this guy has a bow, and so he's going to hit us, and because of the fact that we were in some grease, that exploded and dealt some additional damage, but we're all still doing pretty well on health and hit points there. So again, not too terribly concerned about this. Karlak is not going to be able to get a lot of help in here, and actually that was Will's turn, so unfortunately it jumped to his turn in the initiative instead of others, and I don't have enough room to actually hit anybody with this, so that's unfortunate, but sometimes you've just got to verify the steps in the combat initiative order that you have. Let's go ahead and get another Sacred Flame out here. It looks like we've got a slightly better chance at hitting this guy, so let's go ahead and focus on that. Did end up dealing a nice amount of damage, though he's still kicking and is likely going to retaliate against us, and I think that attack ended up missing, which is fine. Let's go ahead and move here, and we're going to go ahead and do... can't get the both of them with anything, which is fine, so we're just going to go ahead and attempt to hit this target with a firebolt, as I'm hoping that should take him out, which it does, and that means one less issue for me when it comes to actually getting this. Ensnaring Strike, which misses and is great for that purpose. We're going to go ahead and keep... Actually, if I move Karlak up here, I can't throw any weapons because I don't have any weapons ready to throw. But if I switch to a javelin or something else, I would be able to make that attack. So let's go ahead and get another Sacred Flame off on this guy. And then we're going to bring Will back up to the top. Get another Eldritch Blast down here on this target. And that did very, very well and restored some temporary hit points to Will from the Dark One's Blessing. That's a feature that he gets based off of being a Fiend Warlock, which is really quite nice. It looks like it's double the level is the bonus there. But we can verify that by coming into some of his class abilities, I believe. Okay, so that feature is right here, where we've got a condition here. Temporary hit points equal to the Charisma modifier and Warlock level combined. And that's where that's coming from. So we're getting a +3 here from the modifier, and then a +3 from the Warlock level for a total of 6. And that will just continue to scale which will be quite nice. We should be able to get some additional benefits there by bolstering both the charisma and the dexterity at level 4 as the ability score increase, and then by unequipping the light padded armor and using Armor of Shadows, we'll be able to get a slightly better armor class than what he's got there as well. As for the group, we're going to go ahead and get a Prayer of Healing off here to really heal everyone up, and then we'll benefit additionally by taking our second short rest of the day. That's going to get everybody up to full, and should allow us to do fairly well against this objective with all of the creatures that are up there.
Let's try this way.
So let's go ahead and make our way in that general direction so we can get some benefits there. But first we're going to go ahead and loot the different creatures that we've taken out, and I'm not going to bore you with all of that, but we'll certainly grab the things that they have to offer to either sell or just kind of generally have available, which is quite nice. Looks like there's a ladder up this way that we can climb to.
Trap. Be cautious.
And we can tell that there is a trapped chest there. And something else that you can do, which we actually might, for the sake of conserving some resources, is we can actually pick up these items, and instead of like lofting them above your head, you can, you know, kind of take them back to your to your camp, and maybe allow some other persons to deal with those. And that includes these trapped ones as well, I believe, but we'll find out as Karlak tries to pick that up. And yep, now we've got a trapped chest in our inventory, which we can take back to camp and have Asterion deal with, because he's a little bit more equipped to take care of those types of situations. And just like that, after you get a rest after having that type of interaction with Scratch, he ends up here in your camp. It's a good way to build rapport with the other members of your party that you have equipped, which is really quite nice. And yeah, having Scratch as a part of your encampment is a nice little thing to have, and different things will happen there periodically throughout. Now, over here, we have ourselves a Traveler's Chest. And a Traveler's Chest here is something that hangs out in your camp. From your inventory, you can actually send things to the Traveler's Chest. Case in point, this group of shears, if it's not very helpful, and I don't want to be carrying it around in my bag, even in the overworlds, hitting send to camp will put it here in the Traveler's Chest, which is quite nice. Now, here, with the different wooden chests that I have, if I take both of these and send them over to camp, you can actually put chests within chests.
Not as bad as it could have.
And this allows you to kind of compartmentalize things. You can gain various different chests over the course of your adventure, and you can even get it to the point where you can just kind of move things freely in between your inventory and organize them and the like. So, for example, we can make this first chest, that's not what I meant to do, we can make this first chest by hitting open. We can make this chest a chest for weapons. So, for example, anything that I don't want to be packing around in my inventory because I just don't get use for it, or frankly weapons take up a lot of space, you can just kind of drag and drop them. Alternatively, you can send them to camp, they'll appear here, and then you can drag and drop them into the chest itself, I believe, which is kind of helpful. Now, I accidentally placed this in the wrong chest, so we'll go ahead and move that back over. And you can even put chests within chests, apparently. That's kind of a fun little thing. So the Pandora's box can really go quite crazy in that regard. But yeah, we'll go ahead and put a couple of other weapons in here. that I don't really get any benefit from just by being a sorcerer. Having the quarterstaff for the couple of times that I may find myself in a close quarters area will be beneficial enough, and you can just kind of sort things out in your inventory that way. Now I'm going to go ahead and send this sword to Will. I think that it might do better, especially if it's bound as his packed weapon. But just like that, that's a little tip for sorting things within your camp and hopefully keeping your inventory a bit cleaner and more organized. So there's quite a bit to go on along here in the Blighted Village. One of the first being you're going to interact with this little sigil, which will give you a waypoint of how to get back here.
Where you ain't ought to be, friend.
But this guy
might have to take that nose.
is going to potentially cause some problems for you. However, you can interact with the goblin, with the tadpole that you have. Or, you know, you can do things like this and just kind of intimidate them, because you've got intimidation proficiency, and make the check at advantage with some guidance for good measure. Which didn't really do that well for some reason. However, because of the guidance, we just got there, and that's what's important.
All you best take is this warning, yeah? Step lightly around here. You're outnumbered.
Well, that went interestingly enough. But what we'll want to do is make our way over here. Because these different goblins here are very distracted by what's going on with this. As you can see, there is a gnome that is kind of hanging out around here, and this is something that tripped me up for a little bit in terms of how to stop it as he's asking for it. As you would expect, there's a way to do that over here. Personally, I think that it should highlight when you are hitting or toggling the alternate key, but there are a couple of switches or levers on the other side of this grindstone, and you'll want to hit the brake lever to bring this to a halt, and that will allow you to free the gnome and get some assistance from that. So let's go ahead and come untie the poor gentleman.
If we should meet again, well, we will have met again.
And there you have it. Nice little bit of dialogue there. Get ourselves some additional experience. We're getting closer to that elusive level 4, but I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details for that. What we can do is we can come around and kind of loot the different creatures here, get ourselves some additional resources back. But those were the main things that I kind of wanted to showcase today. Is there other things that you're looking for in the early game that I can assist or help you out with? Let me know. I'd be willing to offer additional assistance on that for certain. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.